Stop scrolling right now, like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think really happened, and share this story with every fan you know, because what you are about to hear is the secret behind one missing day, the hours nobody could track, and the quiet decisions that reshaped everything between Miles Wei and Shen Yue. For weeks the timeline made no sense. A morning appearance. A cancelled rehearsal. Phones unanswered. Assistants exchanging confused messages. Two names suddenly absent from the same schedule. Miles Wei.
Shen Yue.
Fans noticed first. They always do. Screenshots circulated. Flight trackers were examined. Background details and photos were enlarged. Someone noticed that both of them had posted from what looked like similar locations earlier that day. Then nothing. Silence.
No updates. No sightings. No explanations.
In an industry where every hour is logged, that kind of disappearance does not happen by accident. By nightfall, the speculation exploded. Some said it was a private meeting. Others whispered about urgent negotiations. A few insisted something had gone terribly wrong. But the truth was quieter, more complicated, and far more emotional than anyone expected. It began with a message. Not public. Not forwarded. One simple line from Shen Yue asking if Miles could talk. Not about work. Not about schedules. Just talk. Miles had been in the middle of fittings when he saw it. He hesitated. Longer than he meant to. Because the last few months between them had been careful. Polite.
Distant in public.
Warm in private moments that never lasted long enough. He replied anyway.
Where?
She sent him an address instead of a name. A lakeside path outside the city, where tourists rarely wandered on weekdays. Trees bending over calm water. Stone benches worn smooth by time. A place people went when they needed quiet more than comfort. They arrived separately. Different cars. Different routes. No assistants in sight. Caps pulled low. Phones turned face down. For a few seconds they simply stood there.
Not awkward.
Heavy. Like two people carrying too much to pretend everything was fine. Shen Yue spoke first. She said she was tired. Not physically. Inside. Tired of guessing what people thought. Tired of rehearsing answers for questions that had not been asked yet. Tired of wondering whether distance was protection or avoidance. Miles listened. Hands in his pockets. Eyes fixed on the water. When she finished, he nodded slowly and said he had not known how to reach her without making things louder. That sentence unlocked something. They started walking. Slowly. Footsteps in rhythm. Voices low. They talked about the past year. About projects that drained them. About interviews that felt like traps. About how every public interaction became a puzzle to solve. Miles admitted he had stepped back on purpose. Not because he did not care. Because he thought space might keep the spotlight from burning too hot. Shen Yue stopped walking. Turned to him. And said space can feel like abandonment when nobody explains it. That hit harder than she intended. Miles exhaled. Then told her something he had not planned to say that day. That he had been warned by people older in the industry about how quickly narratives could lock two people into boxes. That he had been scared of becoming another headline. That he chose distance because he believed it would protect both of them. She listened without interrupting, eyes searching his face. When he finished, she nodded once and said, "I wish you had trusted me with that sooner." The air changed after that. Not lighter, clearer. They sat on one of the stone benches. Phones buzzing in pockets they ignored. Miles admitted he felt guilty watching rumors grow while staying quiet. Shen Yue confessed that she had started doubting herself, wondering if she had misread everything. That was the moment the missing hours truly began. Because once honesty enters the room, time disappears. They talked about families, about pressure from agencies, about the strange loneliness of being surrounded by people and still feeling isolated. Miles told her there were days he wanted to call, and then convinced himself not to. Shen Yue said she had drafted messages and deleted them more times than she could count. The lake barely moved. Clouds drifted slowly. Somewhere far away traffic hummed, but it felt like another world. At one point Shen Yue asked him directly, "What do you want now?" Miles did not answer immediately. He stared at the water again. then said, "I want us to stop guessing." That simple sentence held everything.
No declarations. No dramatic promises.
Just a refusal to keep living in uncertainty. She smiled faintly, not relieved, thoughtful, and said that would be a good place to start. They decided to get food, not a restaurant where anyone could recognize them. A small family-run place down a side road with handwritten menus and mismatched chairs. They sat in the corner, hoods up, laughter low. For the first time in months, they spoke about things that had nothing to do with work. Travel dreams, foods they missed from home, movies they rewatch when stressed. Miles teased her about always ordering too much. She reminded him how he pretended not to like sweets and then finished her plate. It felt dangerously normal, which in their world is rare. Meanwhile, phones kept vibrating. Managers, assistants, production coordinators, everyone trying to locate them. Neither checked. Not because they were reckless, because for once the conversation mattered more. When they finally stepped back outside, dusk had arrived quietly, the sky softening, lights flickering on across the water. They both realized how long it had been. Miles checked his phone and muttered that this would cause trouble. Shen Yue laughed softly and said, "At least now it will be for a reason." Before parting, they stood by the cars again. Neither rushed. Miles said, "Thank you for today." She answered, "You too."
Simple.
Loaded. The next morning, schedules resumed. Public appearances happened. Neither mentioned the day, but people noticed differences. How they stood closer at group events. How they exchanged glances before answering questions. How the tension fans once felt had shifted into something steadier. Insiders whispered that contracts were being adjusted. Joint projects discussed again. Boundaries renegotiated. Nobody confirmed anything. They did not need to, because the missing day was no longer about where they went.
It was about what changed.
If this untold story surprised you, if it made you rethink those quiet months and sudden silences, then like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you believe really happened during those hours, and share this with every fan waiting for the truth. Because sometimes the most important moments do not happen on stage. They happen when two people finally decide to speak.